Entering a relationship with a narcissistic person often begins with a specific, high-intensity focus. Clinicians describe this as the idealization phase, a period of attention so precise it makes a partner feel more seen and more valued than they ever have before. Eventually, the attention shifts. A minor disagreement or a moment of normal human imperfection triggers a sudden drop into the devaluation phase. The warmth disappears, replaced by a cold clinical dismissal or a sharp disproportionate rage. This shift produces a state of profound psychological confusion. You find yourself obsessively replaying recent interactions, trying to identify the exact mistake that caused the withdrawal of affection. The withdrawal of that affection relates to a change in the narcissistic person's internal state. They are responding to an internal pressure that their partner cannot see and, in many cases, cannot influence. This behavior stems from a complex psychological architecture. The narcissistic mask is a rigid, defensive shell built to contain and protect a core that is remarkably unstable. Understanding the mechanics of the relational whiplash requires looking past the mask and into the specific childhood experiences that necessitated such a heavy defense. Narcissism develops as a structural adaptation to an early environment that failed to provide a child with unconditional acceptance. The first pathway involves consistent emotional rejection. In this environment, a child's authentic feelings are dismissed or punished, teaching them very early that being themselves is a liability. The second pathway is extreme overvaluation. The child is treated as exceptionally special and entitled to different rules. Both pathways arrive at an identical destination. They convince the child their authentic self is insufficient, so they construct a flawless, performed self to secure parental approval. Adult grandiosity functions as a lifelong performance. It is a protective measure designed to keep the individual from facing the perceived catastrophe of being ordinary. In adult relationships, the narcissist relies on their partner to act as a mirror. They need that partner to reflect back the flawless, statuesque version of the performed self they've worked so hard to maintain. When a partner expresses their own needs or shows independence, that reflection distorts. The partner is no longer providing the specific validation the narcissist's architecture requires to stay stable. This sudden distortion causes a narcissistic injury. The defensive mask slips, and for a moment, the deep historical shame from childhood is exposed to the light of the present. The resulting rage or withdrawal is a desperate emergency defense. The mind siphons energy away from empathy and redirects it to aggressively patch the fractures in the mask. This explains the devaluation phase. The survival system kicks in to aggressively reseal the mask, and in that emergency state, the partner's feelings become secondary to the need for psychological closure. The relationship cycle is trapped in this loop, trying to solve an internal childhood problem through external validation, a solution the architecture cannot actually sustain. Treating narcissistic personality disorder presents a unique clinical paradox. The very tools used in traditional therapy often make the condition worse. Direct confrontation of a patient's behavior tends to trigger the same unsurvivable shame the mask was built to hide. This often leads the patient to abandon treatment entirely rather than engage with the pain. Successful treatment works with the existing structure. Therapies build shame tolerance, bracing the core so defensive layers can be lowered safely. Over time, the goal is tolerating the vulnerability of being ordinary, imperfect, and genuinely known. Understanding the origins of this behavior does not excuse the impact of the cycle on others. Partners and children are not obligated to endure the destruction caused by the devaluation phase. The final shift in perspective involves seeing a person whose life has been organized around an outdated survival strategy. Beneath the grandiosity is a self under siege, a human story that, with specialized work,